The world of immersive audio is growing, and it's here to stay. As mixing engineers, it's a concept that has been out of reach for most, thanks to prohibitively expensive and overly complex hardware. Here at Audient, we want to change that. Meet ORIA, the world's first audio interface and monitor controller designed specifically with immersive audio in mind. ORIA is the heart of your new system, immersive made easy, quick to set up and providing unparalleled immersive control for those looking to work in every format from stereo up to 9.1.6 and everything in between. Let's take a look at ORIA's feature set and how it can help you start creating and mixing immersive audio. Meet ORIA, the world's first audio interface and monitor controller designed specifically with immersive audio in mind. Built for creating immersive audio mixes for formats such as Dolby Atmos, ORIA lets you calibrate, control, and monitor multi-channel speaker arrays. From stereo up to 9.1.6 and everything in between, ORIA is perfect for music, film, TV, game, and VR production. In this video, we're going to look at all of ORIA's features and how they can help you and your journey into the world of immersive audio. ORIA is designed with a dual purpose and can be integrated into your studio in two primary ways. Firstly, ORIA can be used as an all-in-one studio solution, acting as both your USB-C interface and monitor controller, with two console microphone preamps, 16 channels of speaker outputs, and 16 extra preamps connected via ADAT expansion, perfect for immersive mix rooms or small tracking studio setups with immersive mix capability. Secondly, you can effortlessly integrate ORIA into a pre-existing and more expansive studio setup, as ORIA can also operate as an entirely standalone monitor controller, using either the ADAT ports or the optional Dante card to feed 16 discrete channels to your speaker system from an existing audio interface. Regardless of how you choose to utilize ORIA, all immersive setups require a great sounding room. In a perfect scenario, we would all mix in acoustically perfect rooms, calibrated to be completely neutral and flat. In the real world, this is almost never the case, and more speakers means more issues with room modes, EQ bumps and dips, and more potential for speakers to be in less than ideal positions. And because of these challenges, working with multi-channel speaker setups requires a precisely calibrated room. But let's face it, calibrating your room is a difficult and time-consuming process. But what if it didn't have to be? ORIA's advanced speaker processing lets you create custom onboard calibration profiles, presets, for any monitoring format from stereo to surround to 9.1.6 immersive setups, making sure your room sounds great in all formats, and making reference checking your mix in different monitoring formats quick and easy. Using ORIA's onboard processing power, often referred to as DSP, each speaker can be adjusted using an 8-band EQ, per speaker delay lines, individual level trims to compensate for those small level differences, and advanced bass management controls, so if some of your speakers are smaller, for example the height speakers, you can send the low end out to the subwoofer. Although it is possible to calibrate your room manually using the aforementioned DSP, this can be a complex and time-consuming process, often outsourced to paid professionals with detailed knowledge of room acoustics. Not ideal. So in order to make calibrating your room with ORIA fast and simple, we've teamed up with Sonarworks. Sonarworks are heavyweights in the calibration industry, and we've partnered with them to provide a deep integration between the SoundID Reference software and ORIA's onboard advanced speaker processing. Every ORIA unit ships with a SoundID Reference measurement microphone and includes a 60-day trial of the multi-channel SoundID Reference software. Using the SoundID measurement microphone alongside SoundID Reference gives you the ability to accurately measure and calibrate a multi-channel immersive setup in less than an hour. Once you have created your Sonarworks calibration profile, it can be directly loaded into ORIA's onboard DSP, meaning your room stays calibrated whilst taking the CPU load off of your machine, delivering low latency audio, leaving your computer with more headroom for running CPU-intensive mixing sessions, and allowing a deep integration into our profiles. More on that later. ORIA gives you powerful new ways to truly take control of any stereo, surround, or immersive environment, courtesy of its purpose-driven software, giving you the ability to use the ORIA software app, ORIA's front panel motion UI control, or iPad app to control calibrated volume levels, choose which speakers are active, check your metering, and switch between different profiles. ORIA's desktop software app is the central hub for controlling ORIA, and the concept of ORIA's control revolves around profiles. Simply put, each profile is a collection of levels, calibration parameters, and choice of speakers condensed into one easy button press. For example, you might have your 9.1.6 immersive speaker setup perfectly calibrated at 85 dB with a flat tonal signature that could be stored as Profile 1. If you needed to check the same speaker setup with a Dolby Atmos music curve, you could store that as Profile 2. Now, you want to mix on a completely different set of stereo near-field speakers with their own calibration settings? Make that Profile 3. Up to 32 profiles can be stored on the ORIA unit, and for ease and convenience, up to 4 of these can be made favorite profiles and switched between with a single press of the button on the front of the unit, or from the iPad remote, giving you the flexibility where you need it. The ORIA software app is designed to make working with large numbers of speakers and configurations easy. Speaker groups are color-coded for quick navigation, per speaker and speaker group mutes and solos are reflected as you make changes, as well as global volume dim and cut. Other monitoring functions like return to reference level can be assigned to the user-defined function button on the front panel. If you're working in film post-production, making sure your audio is in sync with the image is paramount, and for that reason, we have included a global lip sync delay, which can be stored in each profile, so you can switch between low latency monitoring for recording sessions and perfect video sync straight afterwards with no complex reset needed. When working with the Dolby Audio Atmos renderer, it is often necessary to check your work on non-immersive combinations of speakers, such as 7.1, 5.1, or stereo, to make sure everything you've been working on translates to everyone in your audience. This is a process known as downmixing. We have worked with Dolby to let you take control of the Dolby renderer's downmix functionality directly from ORIA, stopping you from having to switch screens in the middle of a session. Instead, ORIA lets you quickly cycle through different downmix formats using ORIA's dedicated hardware control or from the iPad app. ORIA's software app will also provide the renderer status so you know which format you are monitoring in at all times. In many setups, ORIA may be rack-mounted and away from arm's reach, so to bring the control to you, we are pleased to introduce the ORIA iPad app. The iPad app, available for free in the App Store, extends the functionality of ORIA to the tips of your fingers. Never miss a beat with the remote access to all of ORIA's control features from one remote control hub. Adjust levels, audition speakers, switch profiles, and monitor your metering, all directly from your desktop. Precise control without the complexity. With a huge array of connectivity options, ORIA provides more than enough I/O to take on immersive audio mixes, whilst also having the flexibility to operate as a high channel count recording interface. Plug in your surround speakers via the analog TRS lines or AES outputs. Connect your near-field speakers to the 2 dedicated stereo output pairs, which are relay switched from the immersive left and right channels. These stereo pairs can be used independently of your immersive speaker configuration, meaning you can keep your favorite near fields dedicated to stereo mixing without having to compromise. ORIA also has two discrete headphone outputs, which can be independently configured to either duplicate the main left and right outputs, or to have their own outputs fed from separate channels to provide concurrent access to a stereo mix or binaural render. When using ORIA as a USB-C interface, use the ADAT input to add another 16 channels of preamps to expand the system into an 18-in, 16-out system for a versatile studio setup. When using ORIA as a standalone monitor controller, use the ADAT input or the optional Dante card to feed 16 inputs from your pre-existing studio system into ORIA's onboard calibration and monitoring system, meaning you don't have to uproot and change everything in a more complex environment, just add ORIA in and go. For large studio complexes or educational facilities, ORIA has an optional Dante card. Providing up to 16 channels of audio over IP, ORIA's optional Dante card lets you quickly integrate with new and existing audio over IP networks, making your move to immersive seamless. If using ORIA in conjunction with any other digital audio hardware, word clock in and out are provided on BNC connectors, enabling you to keep your digital world in sync. Whilst ORIA has a whole host of new and innovative features, we haven't forgotten about audio performance. Thanks to a massive 126 dB of dynamic range, your mixes will sound more detailed than ever with ORIA's high-performance AD to DA converters, designed to be as transparent as possible, giving you total clarity for taking your immersive mixes to the next level. And for those of us who need the ability to record at every stage, ORIA has two of our award-winning console preamps inside, meaning you can add sources like a vocal performance with zero compromise on quality, even at the final stages. And for the first time ever, the Audient console mic preamp is now remote controlled, optimized to give you the sonic benefits of all its analog design alongside pinpoint accurate digital control. Connecting via a high-speed USB connection, ORIA offers ultra-low latency monitoring and rock-solid driver performance for both Mac OS and Windows, supporting 24-bit 96 kHz. As you can see, ORIA's purpose-driven design delivers a powerful and user-friendly solution for working with multi-speaker arrays in the surround and immersive field. ORIA makes immersive mixing easy, delivering the calibration DSP functionality required to accurately calibrate your room. After all, if you can't hear your audio clearly, how can you mix with confidence? Let's take a look at the inbuilt features that make calibrating your room and speakers possible, all from one place. In this video, we will be walking through how to use the calibration features found in ORIA's hardware to correct issues you may be having with your room and your speakers. If you are interested in using the Sonarworks onboard functionality, we cover that in a different video that is linked down in the description. Before you begin using the calibration features in the ORIA unit, it may be useful to use measurement software and techniques to get an accurate reading of how your speakers are behaving in your space. There are programs available like Room EQ Wizard and Smart, however this video is not a tutorial on how to use measurement software. You may have your own methods, and so this part is up to you. We do include the Sonarworks SoundID measurement microphone in every ORIA box, and this can be used as a rough measurement tool, but without using the specific calibration curve that links that microphone to its own software, you may find that your measurement results are generalized rather than very specific. We highly recommend spending as much time and effort as possible on room acoustics and speaker positioning as you can before heading into the calibration phase. Remember, the best correction is no correction. Once you have your waterfall graphs, speaker delay and output level measurements, it's time to look at ORIA's calibration features. The first thing to do is to make a new profile, making sure that the correct inputs and speaker outputs are chosen for the calibration that you want to apply. Once you have your speaker and room measurements, one of the most common issues that occurs is a non-linearity in the response of a given speaker, whether because of room modes or speaker response. To correct these characteristics in a given speaker, we first need to look at the ORIA software app, and then select the speaker we want to correct first, then we click the Setup button. This opens Setup mode. From here, we can see the EQ section for our selected speaker. From here, we have 8 bands we can configure as needed. Fully parametric, each band can be configured for a specific frequency, gain, and Q. So each section can control a specific narrow notch or a more broad general frequency area. If one speaker is nearer or further away from the listener than the rest of the speakers in the array, that signal will arrive at the listener at a different time from the rest of the sound source. This can lead to the perception that sounds are panned incorrectly and can negatively affect mixing where sound object positioning is an important factor, which is quite a concern in immersive mixing. To correct for this, each speaker has a delay control that can adjust from 0 milliseconds to 75 milliseconds to compensate for the speaker alignment. Keep in mind that if a speaker signal is late and the rest of the speakers are aligned, the correction would have to be applied to all of the speakers except the late one to compensate. For example, if the left height speaker was 0.5 milliseconds behind and all the other speakers were at 0 milliseconds, it would be necessary to add a 0.5 millisecond delay to all the speakers in your setup except that left height one. In most real-world cases, there may be more than one speaker with a need for a delay adjustment, so make sure to perform the required calculations to get them all in line. In setups where the speakers may be slightly closer or farther away than the ideal, this will likely also affect their perceived volume level, which is something that can also affect the perception of positioning and object imaging. To correct for this, each speaker in the ORIA app has a level trim that can be adjusted by up to 12 dB positively or negatively to take the speaker level to precisely where it needs to be. Immersive audio setups include an LFE channel, low frequency effect, and this comes out of a dedicated subwoofer. In an ideal system, each speaker in the array would be able to produce low frequencies as well, this being especially important in immersive music mixing, where instruments would likely extend down into bass frequencies, such as a kick drum or a bass guitar. In practice, many speakers in immersive setups may not be able to recreate those sub-frequencies. This is especially true of height speakers, which are often smaller to accommodate positioning and ceiling mounting. To produce the lower frequencies of these channels, ORIA has a bass management system integrated. Each speaker has a bass management control, providing a configurable crossover filter below which the sub-frequencies are taken from that channel and fed to the subwoofer to be mixed with the LFE audio channel. This also means that those speakers with bass management enabled don't have to struggle to try and reproduce those frequencies, and should be able to recreate the upper bass and mid-range more faithfully, resulting in a more efficient playback setup and clearer sound. When all of your calibration is done, this will be saved into the profile you made by pressing the Save button. If for any reason you wish to use the same calibration as a starting point for a different profile, for instance, you may want to have a profile with bass management enabled and another disabled for comparison, there is an option to duplicate that profile before editing the new version. Thanks for watching and have fun mixing immersive. The inbuilt calibration features make ORIA powerful, but to get the full use out of those features, it may take days of measurements and calculations, especially when using those features for a full immersive configuration where speaker numbers can reach into double digits. The process is often outsourced and can become expensive very quickly. To make this whole process faster, easier, and incredibly effective, we've worked together with the team at Sonarworks to give you the option to integrate their revolutionary room measurement and calibration process directly into ORIA's hardware. But who are Sonarworks and what does their system do? Yujis from Sonarworks kindly explains. Let's go over to him now.
My name is Uģis Kampars and I am from Sonarworks. I would like to tell you a little more about our company and our partnership with Audient. Sonarworks was established more than 10 years ago with a mission to ensure that everybody hears music the way it was intended to be. We have come a long way since then and are now recognized as the industry's leading room and headphone calibration software, and our flagship product, SoundID Reference, has reached a truly global presence with more than 100 and 40,000 studios worldwide relying on our technology. So what does SoundID Reference do? Sound coloration is bad, especially for music creators. Imagine trying to paint with colored glasses on. With the help of SoundID Reference, the users can calibrate their speaker system and headphones to a flat frequency response target, removing the sound coloration coming from the speakers and the room, essentially taking the glasses off the painter's eyes. This greatly improves the consistency and makes your mixes translate better across more different playback systems. With the rising popularity of immersive audio in movies and music, studios are looking for ways to upgrade their studios to multi-channel. Compared to stereo setups, room asymmetries and the difference in speakers used can either make or break an efficient production workflow. Time alignment is absolutely crucial to obtain an accurate soundstage, especially if you are mixing objects. This significantly increases the level of expertise needed to measure and calibrate multi-channel systems on your own. However, expert help can be very expensive and the process may need to be repeated if there are changes made to your setup. ORIA addresses many of these pain points. Having built-in calibration functionality is a game changer. You can now measure the room with SoundID Reference in less than an hour, set it up on ORIA and never worry about sound coloration again. Moreover, this way you can minimize latency and CPU usage on your computer. If you want to make changes to your system in the future, you can easily repeat the process. ORIA has been specifically designed with an immersive audio production process in mind, and this, in combination with the rest of its features, will open the doors to a new audience of creators who want to create immersive audio content. SoundID Reference offers a simple and intuitive solution at an affordable price that makes calibration accessible and consistently reliable to anyone. And this is why we're very excited to partner with Audient. Let's now calibrate the system with SoundID Reference.
So, how does SoundID Reference for multi-channel from Sonarworks integrate with ORIA? Let's take a look. In this video, we'll be walking through how to use ORIA's Sonarworks integration, from the initial measurement through to using those measurement results to create a custom profile that can be stored in ORIA and instantly recalled with a single button press. Every ORIA unit has a Sonarworks SoundID Reference microphone and a 60-day trial of the SoundID Reference for multi-channel software included in the box. It is worth noting, profiles created with the SoundID Reference for multi-channel trial will expire and no longer work after the 60-day trial period has elapsed. In order to continue using those profiles, you will need to purchase a full license of the SoundID Reference for multi-channel software from Sonarworks. In this video, we're going to go through the calibration process in 3 steps. Firstly, preparation, getting ORIA working and set correctly. Secondly, the measurement process using the SoundID Reference Measure app. And thirdly, creating and loading a calibration profile into ORIA using the SoundID Reference app. Before we start, it is important to mention that the calibration capabilities provided by ORIA should not replace proper room acoustic treatment and proper speaker positioning. We highly recommend making every effort to address any acoustic issues with your room before using our calibration features. Before we load up the SoundID Reference measurement software, called the Measure app, there are a couple of things we need to prepare. Firstly, make sure all of your speakers are connected to the correct outputs and match the naming convention on the rear panel of ORIA. If, for example, the left height speaker is connected to the output for the rear surround channel, the calibration process will be confused and give a substandard result. The outputs on the rear panel of ORIA are labelled to match the standard as defined in the ORIA software app, and these also match the Dolby Renderer's standard output definitions. If using the AES outputs, make sure these are manually assigned to the correct speakers using the ORIA software app before starting measurement, as the channel routing will be sent to the Measure app. Next, we need to set up our bass management if necessary. Bass management is used to take the low-end signals from individual speakers and redirect them to the subwoofer. This is especially useful if your speakers are small and not capable of reproducing these low frequencies. This needs to be set first so that SoundID Reference is not trying to compensate for those smaller speakers' low-end responses. The exact settings for this are dependent on recommendations from your speaker manufacturer. Much larger full-range speakers may require no bass management at all, or a low cutoff such as 40 Hz, while smaller speakers such as compact height speakers may require a much higher cutoff frequency. Next, make sure your speakers are emitting sound at the same volume level. If one or more of your speakers are very loud or very quiet compared to the others, we recommend using your active speakers or amplifiers volume controls to make sure levels match. Dolby recommends setting your subwoofer to be 10 decibels higher than the channel volume to give increased headroom for the LFE audio. This is defined in both the ORIA software app settings and the Measure app, so make sure that those are matched. If these are not aligned, the Measure app will let you know at the measurement stage. Once this preparation is complete, it's time to fire up the SoundID Reference Measure app. Make sure the measurement microphone is plugged in on a sturdy microphone stand and phantom power is engaged. If using ORIA as a USB audio interface, we recommend using input 1 on the front panel of ORIA. If using ORIA as a standalone monitor controller, make sure the SoundID Reference measurement microphone is connected to the system via a microphone preamp with as little coloration as possible. When you open the Measure app, the ORIA software app will prompt you to go into measurement mode. Any EQ and delay controls will be disabled during this process. The Measure app will now walk you through the next part of the process, where the microphone is used to determine calibration parameters for each speaker. You will be guided through this process via the instructions on screen. This measurement process will take 40 to 60 minutes depending on the number of channels. Let's take a look at this process with Ugis Campos from Sonarworks.
Let me take you through the measurement process. Once you have finished installing the software and the license key has been activated, open up the SoundID Reference Measure app. I will refer to this as simply the Measure app. The first step is to select the speaker configuration. We will be measuring a 9.1.4 setup today. Make sure to carefully follow the on-screen checklist. The next step requires you to select the microphone input channel. Make sure input channel signal is detected. Although third-party microphones can be used for the measurements, we highly recommend using the SoundID Reference measurement microphone. Each and every microphone has been individually measured before. You will find a unique code on the back of the mic. Insert this code into the empty field here. This will upload the frequency response profile of this particular mic in 3 different angles. Having frequency response profiles in different angles is very important due to the nature of measuring an immersive audio setup. This information is normally not available. If you are planning to mix for Dolby, choose the plus 10 dB LFE setting. If not, choose the same level as the other channels. The output channels should be assigned automatically, but make sure that everything is correct by playing a sound on each of the channels. Make sure that you follow the video instructions on the app. Most importantly, clear out anything that you could bump into and prepare the microphone as indicated in the tutorial. Once ready, adjust the input gain of the microphone until you reach the required level. As the next step, you must select between the metric or the imperial system. We will proceed with the metric system. During the next procedure, the Measure app gathers important information about the setup. Hold the microphone 1 to 2 centimeters away from the mid-range driver and stand to the side.
Stay where you are. Measurements in progress.
The software will calculate the distance between the front speakers. You can review the results and adjust accordingly if necessary. The next step is to position the microphone in the listening spot. The general recommendation is to aim for your stereo listening position to be in a perfect triangle. Once again, you can review the results and adjust accordingly. In the next section, the software will detect whether all of the playback audio from your speakers is at a good level to perform frequency response measurements. If any of the channels do not fall within a ±3 dB range compared to the target channel, a volume mismatch will be detected, displaying the differences. You can choose to either manually adjust the output levels on the speakers according to the measurement results, or skip the speaker volume adjustment and let the software correct the output level inconsistencies later. The second to last step will determine the speaker delays. Once again, make sure to step out of the speaker area. We are now done with the preparations. The last step of the measurement process will take you through 37 measurement points around the room. You will have to pick up the microphone and move around the room based on where the software tells you to place the mic. Once placed correctly, step out of the speaker area and repeat the process as instructed. Now that you have finished the measurement process, you will be prompted on screen to save your measurement results.
Once the SoundID Measure app has finished the measurement process, it will give you the option to save your results as a file. Go ahead and do that now. The next stage is ORIA profile creation. When the Measure app finishes measurements, it gives us a calibration profile which would change the EQ target of our speakers to be flat and neutral. In many cases, this is the perfect ideal, but there are cases where we might want to use the calibration profile in a different way. For example, the Dolby Atmos music target has slightly more low-end and slightly less high-end than flat, and using a custom target, we can change this to however we see fit. It's important to note that if you made your measurements and exported the calibration in your 60-day trial period, this ORIA profile will expire at the same time as your 60-day SoundID Reference trial. However, if you then decide to purchase the SoundID Reference multi-channel license, there's no need to do the whole measurement process again. Just export your calibration file from the SoundID Reference app again, and the license data will be carried over when you now import this into ORIA, and this new version of the profile will be perpetual. This covers the SoundID calibration features in ORIA. We hope this helps you get the most out of your immersive experience. Thanks for watching and have fun mixing immersive. As you can see, ORIA is designed to be a real purpose-driven solution, made from the ground up to help you start creating and mixing in immersive audio, giving you true immersive monitor control, easy to use room calibration, and enough audio firepower to mix with the best. If you want more information, check out our YouTube channel for more videos, like getting your ORIA set up, deep dives into the ORIA desktop app and iPad remote control, and much more to come. Thanks for watching.